Ellen says it's tater time. It is certainly tater time. Welcome to my weekly live chat. Happy Thursday, everybody. I am Mary from Mary's Heirloom Seeds, and I try to go live here every Thursday at 5 p.m. Central Time. I am in East Texas, specifically Ben Wheeler, Texas. It's a little tiny town, and I'm super excited to be here. So, it has been a crazy week, and I just have to say, I am super excited to be able to go live here outside. It is beautiful, it is fresh, it is nice, it is not cold, it is cool. Borderline, I might need a sweater, but I'm not going to worry about that right now. Let's see. I got all kinds of questions here. Let me answer them. So Krista says hello, and hello, fellow gardeners. So I'm going to discuss seed potatoes tonight. We'll just give you a little bit of info on that. Serena says, sorry, I can't exactly give you info on someone else's seed potatoes, but I can give you info on seed potatoes purchased from Mary's Heirloom Seeds. Hey, Cindy, and hey, Christine. So I know, Christine, you purchased seed potatoes from Mary's Heirloom Seeds, and so did you, Krista. So I'm going to discuss all of the ins and outs of seed potatoes, specifically from Mary's Heirloom Seeds. So let's get started first with, in the description section of this video, you'll find a link to our comprehensive planting guide, link to sign up to receive emails from Mary's Heirloom Seeds, and then also a link to our soil amendments. And I will get to that shortly. But first, we are going to talk about, hey, Jenny, thanks for joining me. First, we're going to talk about seed potatoes. When you purchased, why should you be very discreet in a garden? Oh, funny. Thank you. So first of all, when you purchase seed potatoes from Mary's Heirloom Seeds, again, today is all about seed potatoes, and I'm going to discuss the updates. This is what you're going to do when you receive your seed potatoes from Mary's Heirloom Seeds. This is a Viking purple seed potato. I almost feel like it should be called like a constellation seed potato. Hey, Christian, thanks for joining us. It's very sparkly. I don't know if that's a thing, but so let me just show you this. So doesn't that look like a crazy, I don't know, like if you looked at what pictures look like of a universe, it looks very, it looks spacey. So this is a Viking purple potato. And so you notice it's doesn't have a lot of stuff coming out of it. It doesn't have eyes, it doesn't have sprouts, but there's a little bit. I'm going to zoom in here. Those are eyes. Hey, Moonblade, thanks for joining me. So you want to, when you receive your seed potato order from Mary's Heirloom Seeds, you want to take it out of the package immediately. These should not be stored in the package long term because they're not going to last. Christine says, oh, even more excited because we got those. Awesome. If you missed out on purchasing seed potatoes from Mary's Heirloom Seeds, I will say this. Since you're watching, send an email to mary@marysheirloomseeds.com. We might have a couple of extra pounds available if you want to get on our wait list. It's a very short wait list, and I'll follow up with you as soon as I can. So this is what a seed potato looks like. It's a regular potato, but a lot of the potatoes that you get in the store may be treated with something that keeps them from growing eyes. Those are your eyes right there, right? But also the seed potatoes specifically are disease-free. So if you buy a store-bought potato and you plant it, totally no judgment there because you can totally do that too. But you run the risk of introducing something into your soil that you may not want to. Now, this is a potato from the grocery store. I did exactly what I would do to a seed potato, but I did it to a grocery store potato so you could see what I'm talking about. Now, you're going to take your seed potato and you're going to put it in a kitchen cabinet where it's warm, where it's cool, where it's dry. I mean, it doesn't need to be hot, but it doesn't need to be cold. So room temperature. I don't know how cold you keep your house, but room temperature warm or cool. Like I said, you don't want to put it in the garage or it might get super cold or super warm. But put it in the dark and keep it warm. And it's going to grow little sprouts. Now, potatoes. Christian, no, you cannot grow it from peels. You want to grow it from an actual tater. So today I'm going to discuss what you're going to do with your seed potatoes once you receive them. So, sorry, I'm trying to stay on topic, but I'm going all over the place. Seed potato, take it out of the box and store it properly. When I say properly, you're going to put it in, oops, I just dropped it. You're going to put it in a kitchen cabinet. Keep it warm, keep it dry, keep it cool, keep it not moist. You don't want it in the water. And in about 2 weeks or less, you'll already have eyes. This happened actually in about 6 days. So this is really good. This is called chitting. Keeping in mind, this is called chitting. That is spelled C-H-I-T-T-I-N-G. We're not using foul language here. We're just talking about spuds. Serena Norell, yes, we do sell seed potatoes, and we sent an email out back in January for seed potatoes, and we sold out in about 5 days. So if you haven't already signed up for our emails, I highly recommend it. When we do garlic, when we do seed potatoes, when we have seed sales, when I have new arrivals, everything gets sent out in an email. In the description section of this video, you'll find a link to my email sign up. If you have Gmail and you sign up, you have to check your spam or your promotions folder just to double check. So back on track, this is called chitting. This is pre-sprouting your seed potatoes. Now what I'm going to do from here is I'm going to leave this in the cabinet, but I wanted to share it with you. There you go. These are sprouts. Every single one of these is going to grow another plant of potatoes. So this single potato, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 just so far, and that's only been a week in a kitchen cabinet. So you're gonna, with your seed potato order, our instructions, and I also sent an email about pre-sprouting or chitting your seed potatoes in a recent email. So again, if you haven't signed up for the emails for Mary's Heirloom Seeds, you're missing out on a bunch of great information. So we have pre-sprouted our seed potato. Now what you're going to do from here, I don't have a knife with me because I didn't really think it was a good idea to cut with my bare hands. If you don't know me, I will not cut with my bare hands. That's just one of those things I would probably slice a finger off. But from here, you're going to want to obviously allow it to grow a little longer. The instructions share it, but I'm just sharing this for video purposes. When these little sprouts get a little longer, you're going to cut off a big chunk of it. So if it's the tip, you're going to cut off this little area here, and that is going to be one of your pre-sprouts. You're going to take that and you're going to dip it in Azomite. The reason I recommend Azomite is because it is micronutrients. It is minerals that your soil needs, but also it is a root booster. Not root boost that we carry, but it is a root booster. So it will not only help coat that raw material. So if you're slicing this open, it's raw. So if you coat it with Azomite, again, this is all in the information here. When you coat it with Azomite, you are reducing the risk of mold and mildew and decomp, basically, of your seed potato. And then you let it dry out for about 24 to 48 hours before you plant it. So just because you get your seed potatoes in the mail doesn't mean you're ready to plant right away. In our area here, we still have a frost warning. We got life flight going over there. Sorry about that. Moonblade, and just give me a minute because I'm definitely going to share fertilizer information and soil amendment information for these. Seed potatoes, number one, should get Azomite. I coat the bare portions of it after I slice off the different eyes. So David Gray says, never heard about Azomite, dipping Azomite in spuds. Dipping spuds in Azomite, sorry. Again, in the description section of this video, you will find a link to our soil amendments, and you will find what's called micronized azomite. And that is just a very fine powder of azomite. It's the only difference between regular and micronized is that micronized has been basically ground to a smaller, finer powder. So you take that spud, you take what you call the eye, this is your eye, and you slice that, you dip it in your azomite, and you set it aside, and you let it dry for about 24 to 48 hours before you plant it. Again, if you haven't already signed up for our emails, you're probably missing some of this information, and I highly recommend it. This is the basic planting information that's included with your order of seed potatoes, but there's a lot more involved with it. How do you plant it? What do you plant it with? And that's information that is provided in an email. So once you have coated your spuds, you have chopped the eye off, you've coated your spud with azomite, and you let it dry for 24 to 48 hours. Then you're ready to plant it. Now, keep in mind, we still have cold weather here. So I'm not planting seed potatoes right now. I am allowing them to grow more eyes. I am chitting my seed potatoes right now as we speak in a kitchen cabinet away from direct sunlight in the warmth of my kitchen so that they will produce eyes. So like I mentioned before, regular old seed potato growing spuds or growing eyes. No, I don't use anything. Hang on just a second. I don't use anything to support them. So in a recent video, I shared a link to some of our recent or information plus the older videos. Let's see, Krista says, I will have to purchase soil recommendations for containers and growing soil. Growing bags. I will give you that information as well. So your soil needs to be fertile. It should not be lacking of nutrients. And if you have a garden, this is part of the reason I'm going live in front of one of my recently emptied beds, is I'm going to discuss some of the things that I'm going to add before I start planting. So way behind me, you see some greenery. I have been feeding our chickens daily from weeds and from greens that I grew in the garden. I took one of our bulk packs of seeds and I sprinkled it all over the ground in the raised bed, and I'm growing greens for free to feed our chickens. That will help with my feed bill, obviously, but it will also give them good nutrient-dense food. But when I cleared out this bed, I cleared all that greenery, or at least as much as I could out of the greenery, and I fed it to my chickens. Now, what am I going to do to this soil before I plant my potatoes? Well, for one, I'm going to do a soil test. I already sent that out. More information later on that. If you don't do a soil test, you can always just add the basics. And for that, I'm going to use what's called Mountain Flower Root Boost. We have it available at Mary's Heirloom Seeds. It has the basics for your macronutrients, but it also has micronutrients, specifying there because you have your NPK as your micronutrients, and you have like things like endomycorrhiza, which is a beneficial bacteria, and azomite, which is your minerals, which is going to be your micronutrients. I had to specify those because they're all important. Just like we take vitamins and you want your calcium, you want your magnesium, you also want the micronutrients as well because they are just as important for your garden. So you want to grow as much as you can, yes, in a small space. So beneficial bacteria, beneficial nutrients are super important. And now I'm getting eaten up by mosquitoes, so sorry about that. So there's a couple of other things you can add to your soil that will be beneficial. You can add compost, super important. If you are growing your own compost, super important. You definitely want to do that. Hang on just a second. I'm missing some stuff. I'm missing some. There you go. If you are growing your own compost or creating your own compost, awesome. Super important. Another thing you can add is Worm castings, also super important. You want to add beneficial stuff to your garden if you can that you don't have to pay for. So if you're creating your own worm castings, KNC Worm Farm, you probably already are. I know you are. If you're creating your own compost, also super important. Those are things that are beneficial to your garden that you don't necessarily have to go to a garden store or go online and buy it. David Gray, I don't recommend it, but that's totally up to you. So hang on just a second. I think Krista, you asked for soil for your gardens. You are in the general area that I am. So I used a company called Texas Organic Soil. Texas Organic Soil is by far one of the best soil companies that I have worked with. Everything that I purchased from there has been top notch. The soil is good. It's not full of garbage. A lot of times, I'm sorry, but I have looked at what the what is it called again? Miracle Grow soil, and it's full of garbage. I've seen pieces of plastic. I've seen pieces of landscaping stuff that wasn't actually soil or wasn't actually organic matter. And I was kind of disgusted because you look at it and you're like, oh, this should be great because it says organic. So if you're in the East Texas area, I keep in mind, I don't get paid to mention Texas Organic Soil, but I do highly recommend them. They know me because I was the crazy lady that was buying soil in July in East Texas to start a garden. And he goes, boy, you're brave. And I said, well, it's what I do and I love it. So I highly recommend if you're in the area, definitely check out Texas Organic Soil. You need all that all in one place because they are fantastic. I have grown seed potatoes in barrels, buckets, and in ground. So after this video, I'll share a link. I did a fall seed planting video here in Texas, and I'll share the link here. And at the same time, there's another one I did on chitting when I was in Ramona, California. So when I buy from Texas Organic Soil, I buy two different things. I have purchased their compost in bulk, and I have purchased their raised bed garden soil. Both of them have been fantastic. The price has been better than by the bag, and the quality has been better than any other store-bought bagged soil I have ever purchased in 15 years. So just keep in mind. Hey, Agape Field, thanks for joining us. Christine says we grew them in coffee burlap bags last year. They worked great. That's a fantastic idea. I have grown them in large gallon grow bags, and that works as well. So it just really depends. So as far as planting in ground, you have to have good, loamy, soft soil. You cannot grow it in super thick clay Texas soil, unfortunately. So I've battled all that good stuff. I've different portions on the property have different things. So over there is nice soft loamy soil. Over there is hard compact soil, and over here was flooded soil. So that's why you have raised beds behind me. So different places will require different amount of work for your garden. So we discussed the different things for our raised beds versus containers versus in-ground versus grow bags for your potatoes. We discussed how you're going to get these things started. Christina, yes, Serena, I have used green sand, but most of what I grow is in raised bed container mix, which already has green sand in it. You can purchase green sand. We do sell it on our website, but the container garden soil that I have already has green sand, which is a plus. So we discussed how you get started with your potatoes. I discussed some of the soil amendments that I use. And just to recap, seed potato, eyes forming, eyes getting even bigger, And then the soil amendments that I'm going to add to my garden are going to be Mountain Flower Root Boost, Azomite, Mycorrhiza, which is a plus, and then also worm castings. So if you don't have worm castings already, I highly recommend it. So those are just the basics of what you're going to do for growing your potatoes. You're going to want to make sure you've got good fertile soil, and if you don't, you're going to want to use some sort of liquid fertilizer. So I really like Mountain Flower Super Kelp. I use that just as a regular liquid fertilizer, specifically for potatoes because they really like it. I use it for my garlic too, which is always a plus. So tonight's topic was our seed potato update. I wanted to share with you the basics. I have a lot of customers who've never grown seed potatoes before. So I kind of wanted to point out like the anatomy of a seed potato, which is super helpful sometimes because you don't always know what you're getting or what you're looking at. So there's always a plus. Krista says, I'm glad I got all my fertilizers from Mary that I'm going to need. Awesome. You already got what you wanted. Hey, Tom, thanks for joining me. So I always like to keep my lives short and sweet because, you know, you don't need to sit here for an hour and chat with me about seed potatoes because really, I'd rather be out in the garden. I'm super excited to be out in the garden. Finally, it's been a couple months of live chats indoors, and while I don't mind, I like being outside, and I have a couple raised beds already emptied out, getting ready for our spring planting. I've got sage and oregano over there on the bed from last year that is still surviving. I've got some greens back there and back there that will be fed to the chickens tomorrow while I launch them out. Serena, you asked me that question already and I answered. Yes, green sand is good in your bags, but I already have it in my raised bed mix, so I don't have to add it to it. Hey Ken, thanks for joining us as well. So if you have specific questions, please send an email to mary@marysheirloomseeds.com. I'm always happy to help. Specifically, emails are super important because it does definitely help. If you have questions, I can answer them immediately. Christine says we bought them from a coffee roasting place. Awesome. Good to know. I used to pick up coffee grounds from a local coffee shop and throw it in my compost bin, and it was awesome. I am going to sign off and enjoy a couple of minutes to myself. I'm currently spending 14 hours a day in the seed shop, which is a lot of work. So I hope you enjoy your seed orders. I am going to take at least Saturday. No, I'm going to take half a Saturday and all of Sunday off this weekend and enjoy pulling more stuff out of the garden and getting back into the garden. So for those of you who are new, thank you for joining me. For those of you that join me every week, thank you again for joining me. I always appreciate it. Thank you, Harold, for joining us as well. You're planting some peppers from us. I am Mary at Mary's Heirloom Seeds, and I'm going to sign off. You can send those emails to mary@marysheirloomseeds.com. And share the wealth, share the information. I always appreciate that you share all over with your friends and family. If it wasn't for you, we wouldn't have all this awesome information. Thanks for joining me and happy planting.